Just a quick warning, this video contains lots of footage of a guy getting hurt by various animals. If that sounds distressing to you for any reason, then feel free to skip it. Huh. I thought people with disabilities did deserve rights, but it turns out they do. Hello! This video is probably a mistake. Section 1. A puppy that nobody loves. There's this YouTuber called Coyote Peterson, and I'd like to talk about him for a bit. So I will. I mean, it's my video, so yeah. So who is Coyote Peterson and what does he do? Well, he's a nature filmmaker who travels from place to place making videos about creatures that he finds interesting. And occasionally, as part of an ongoing series, he gets stung, bitten, or pinched by bugs and fish and crustaceans and other creatures people usually avoid for exactly that reason. Okay, I'd like to state before I start that I really like Coyote. I think he's great. His enthusiasm is infectious, and he really knows his stuff, and it just comes across that he really loves animals and bugs and nature. He has fun catchphrases, and he doesn't swear or get mad even when he's in pain. It's really wholesome. I first discovered Coyote with his video, Stung by a Cow Killer! Literally an hour after reading news about cow killer ants, because it was suggested to me because of the algorithm. Praise the algorithm. The video begins with him holding a cow killer or velvet ant, which is actually a flightless wasp, apparently, close to his arm, using forceps, and then getting stung. It immediately flashes back to show the build-up to the sting, and to Coyote's first catchphrase.
I'm Coyote Peterson, and I'm about to enter the sting zone with the velvet ant.
What follows can only be described as the purest form of entertainment. A grown man is shaking and writhing in pain while saying things like,
Oh my gosh, guys, this is super bad!
And,
Oh wow, okay.
And otherwise trying to relate the experience live to the audience. And then at the end, he says this beautiful, cheesy outro line.
Be brave, stay wild, we'll see you on the next adventure. Woo, let's get out of the desert. I'm Coyote Peterson, be brave, stay wild, we'll see you on the next adventure. See you later, Buckshot. I'm Coyote Peterson, be brave, stay wild, we'll see you on the next adventure. All right, buddy, now we can get you back into the river.
The next video suggested by the algorithm was Stung by a Tarantula Hawk, which again was a bug I had only just been reading about the day before. I'd been reading that a biologist had recommended that should you be stung by a tarantula hawk, the best course of action would be to just lie down and scream. So yeah, I do want to see Coyote Peterson get stung by a tarantula hawk wasp.
I'm Coyote Peterson, and I'm about to enter the sting zone with the tarantula hawk.
Let's go for it.
1, 2, here we go, 3.
Unsurprisingly enough, what Coyote does after getting stung is lie down on the ground and scream.
I think I'm gonna cry. I'm Coyote Peterson, be brave, stay wild, we'll see you on the next adventure.
I knew I'd been given something magical, and I immediately watched just every Coyote Peterson video I could. I've seen Coyote enter the sting zone, the bite zone, the pinch zone, the chomp zone, and the spine zone. I kept asking out loud, who is this idiot? Why is he doing this? I had so many questions. Who was giving him the money for this? Why would he put himself through this? How had I never seen this before? Why does he call himself Coyote? A coyote is just a puppy that nobody loves. Actually, this is kind of apt, because Coyote's really cute and charming, but if he weren't kind of annoying too, it would probably be really hard to watch him get stung and bitten and pinched by all these different creatures. However, I think there's something deeper going on here, so I'd like to examine what exactly is the appeal of Coyote Peterson. See, after watching what I'll group together to call his Pain Zone videos, I went on to watch Coyote rock pooling and finding a giant 2-foot-long black sea slug. I've watched him handling an octopus and feeding a giant Galapagos tortoise. Of course, I like watching nature documentary content, and Coyote's really charming and fun, And even though it was a joke, I already feel bad for calling him a puppy that nobody loves, because I love him, and clearly so does everybody else. I've seen him mentioned like on Facebook, and everybody's nuts about this guy. That said, if someone had offered me to watch a video about a cool, enthusiastic guy feeding a Galapagos tortoise, I probably wouldn't have bothered. So why have I and so many others been drawn in by the pain zone videos? Why do we want to watch Coyote Peterson suffer? Section 2. Why we want to watch Coyote Peterson suffer. Schadenfreude is such a well-known phenomenon, I honestly probably could have written this section by just saying Schadenfreude. However, I want to look at this a bit more. Another popular video series I've been suggested repeatedly is Price Points by Epicurious. In this series, an expert will try to guess which is the expensive something and which is the cheap something. For example, a coffee expert will try 2 coffees and tell which is the expensive coffee and which is the cheap coffee. Along the way, the expert will explain the processes and the inside knowledge of the product as part of their deduction. Despite the educational content of these videos, the real appeal is, again, Schadenfreude. The pleasure in seeing someone else suffer. Unlike Coyote, these experts are not suffering physically, but the appeal of the video from the thumbnail is that they might suffer socially. They'll make a claim based on their expertise, and despite their expertise, they could be wrong, which would be embarrassing. Neuroscientists have shown that social pain, such as having your feelings hurt, being embarrassed, or being proven wrong, is processed by the same parts of the brain as physical pain. The difference between Price Points and Coyote's Pain Zone videos is that Coyote is making the videos himself and Epicurious is hosting the experts on. This means that while Coyote is offering his own suffering as the allure of his content, Epicurious is treating the experts in a kind of hostile way, at least in the marketing of the video. From the point of view of the Pain Zone videos, Coyote is your charming host who, for some reason, has decided to get stung and bitten and pinched a lot. He has to be charming because it's his content and he wants to be liked. Because of this, you develop attachment to him as a character over time. And you feel drawn to watch his videos about other things, videos where he doesn't get hurt. From the point of view of Price Points, however, the experts are there for 2 contradictory reasons, to inform and to suffer. The suffering is the appeal of the video, that's why the thumbnail looks like that. The suffering is the appeal of the video, but the education is the content of the video. I think for me at least, this is why Price Points isn't as good. The experts aren't set up to be liked, so I don't feel any ongoing attachment to people giving me the information. The thumbnails of the Price Point series are deliberately put together, in my very, very professional opinion, to make the experts in the videos look like pretentious dickheads. This builds them up as characters that we would like to see suffer, and then the premise of the video introduces the possibility that we will see them suffer social pain. They're experts, and you know that because the title says so, but if they guess that edible lube A is more expensive than edible lube B and they're wrong, they're going to suffer and you're going to enjoy it, and their deep knowledge of what makes a high-quality consumable aphrodisiac lubricant isn't going to mean shit. This is where they're similar to Coyote, who has an enormous knowledge of animals, marine life, and insects. He's an expert, and he dresses just like Crocodile Dundee, so you know that he's an expert. But if he's stung by a tarantula hawk, that knowledge isn't going to do much for him. He's going to have to lie down on the ground and scream, just like anybody else. Section 3. Creatures of Habit. I think another reason Coyote Peterson's videos are so great to watch is their dependable content. Each video fits the same template pretty perfectly. I'll lay it out for you. I'm sorry, Coyote, I'm going to be selling away your trade secrets. At the start of the video, you'll see a short clip of the thing that you came to see, followed by a drumming track played over an animated title sequence. Next, the video cuts backwards in time to either Coyote talking to the camera, or narrating, explaining where he is and what he's doing. He'll give you some facts about the animal that's the feature of the video, and by about 2/3 of the way through, you'll be back to the point you saw at the start. If it's a Sting Zone video, he will mention the
Bullet Ant Challenge.
And if it's a Pain Zone video, he will generally say,
I'm Coyote Peterson, and I'm about to enter the
Pain
Zone with
name of animal. He'll then give his reactions to whatever situation he's in, and he'll wrap up the video by saying, be brave, stay wild, and I'll see you on the next adventure. Magic. Another series of videos I've really enjoyed thanks to the algorithm is the algorithm. is the Sharpest Kitchen Knife in the World series by a channel that I only just found out was called Kiwami Japan, because I looked it up just now. But up until now I've been calling Knife Guy. In this series, the Knife Guy makes knives out of various different materials, including, but not limited to, kitchen foil, cardboard, wood, rice, and jelly. Yes, jelly. Even though the processes for making the knives vary a lot, in a way these videos are even more dependably repetitive. Because at their core, two things happen in every video. Knife Guy makes the knife, and then he cuts things with the knife. These videos are so appealing, to me at least, because although I love to make stuff and watch videos sometimes to learn how to make stuff, I know I will never make any of these knives. I'm not watching these videos to learn, I'm watching them to stave off boredom. They're comforting and safe, and I know exactly what I'm about to see when I click on Sharpest Ice Kitchen Knife in the World. The appeal of repetitive content can also be a trap for its creators. Repetitive content is comforting and good to half-watch lazily in the background. This means that viewers don't necessarily get invested in the content. I certainly like Knife Guy. I'm impressed by him making the sharpest pasta kitchen knife in the world. But if he got a new job and didn't produce videos anymore, I wouldn't be heartbroken. What makes Coyote's Pain Zone videos different, despite their formulaic setup, is they are based around investment in Coyote as a personality. The more you watch, the more you care about Coyote. There's a strangely meta moment where Coyote's cameraman Mario revealed, in one of the videos, that he had a t-shirt made that said, "Coyote, are you okay?" Because that's what he said, word for word, in every single video right after Coyote entered the sting zone. We're often creatures of habit, but sometimes those habits can act as feedback loops that drive us in one direction or another. This is the way that most YouTube personalities build their channels. They create masses of formulaic content so viewers can get used to them and find them comforting and safe. The genius of Coyote's Pain Zone is that investment in his well-being, rather than simple tolerance of his existence, is the basic requirement of watching. After all, schadenfreude may be a powerful draw, but if someone appears to be really truly suffering, in a lasting sense, the pleasure that can be derived from it really dissipates quickly. In other words, we do want to see Coyote suffer, just a little bit, but then we want to ask, Coyote, are you okay? That said, I don't think that genius element is entirely intentional, because if it were, it would be a very cynical reading of what Coyote Peterson is trying to do. I just can't interpret Coyote that cynically, because every time I look at him, I see a little kid wearing a wide-rimmed leather hat sitting an inch away from the TV watching Steve Irwin or David Attenborough. So to understand why these videos are made, we're going to have to get right inside them. We're going to have to enter the sting zone. Section 4. Entering the sting zone. So, why would we watch someone put themselves through pain so excruciating the only advice for it is to lie down and scream? Why would we want to watch that again and again? Is there a reason to watch that beyond sadistic desire to watch someone suffer? I want to offer a bit more of a positive look at this series. I want to see what we can get out of the sting zone, which is a bit more useful. When I see the thumbnail to a Coyote Peterson video, before I've seen him get stung, I want to know what it's like to get stung by an insect. It's not that I want to get stung, but I want to know what it's like. I have a curiosity like an itch. I want to know how bad it would be. Hearing a description isn't enough. Reading about the biology isn't enough. For some reason though, seeing Coyote Peterson get stung, seeing him tense up and sometimes yell and use his phenomenally mild swears, yeah, that does it. After I watch one of those videos, I'm not curious anymore. There's no part of me left that might see a cow killer ant in the wild and be legitimately stupid enough to think, they say it's really painful, but how painful is really painful? This isn't just my reading of these videos, by the way. Coyote only has one sponsor on his videos, and it's a sting pain relief product targeted at Americans who might get stung by your average yellow jacket wasp. So, like, all Americans. They didn't commission the series, they approached Peterson after he made himself pretty well known, but it's honestly pretty reassuring. If Coyote Peterson says it helps a bit to use that product after he gets stung by the tarantula hawk, then yeah, I'd probably get that product if I thought I was in danger of a yellow jacket sting. I like it as well because the only thing I've advertised in my videos so far is fidgeters, the fidget toys I make myself at home. And I only ever intend to advertise things that I've personally made. I find Coyote advertising sting relief not too far from that. Even before he got a sponsor though, Coyote Peterson included in these videos a level of educational content and advice that's really valuable. He says in almost every video that these insects only attack if they're aggravated, and that if you see one in the wild, you should just admire it from a safe distance.
Velvet ants are nomadic ground dwellers that feed primarily on nectar, so there is absolutely no reason you should ever fear them. If you live or are hiking in velvet ant territory and want to avoid a possible sting, keep your boots on your feet and you will be just fine.
I think that's another way those videos are better than other kinds of obvious repetitive media like them. Coyote is educating people. He's showing people why they don't want to get stung by these insects, what they can do if they do get stung, and letting them know they probably won't if they aren't massive jerks. Section 5. Carl. Carl, if you ever get around to watching this, thanks for sticking it out through 4 sections of hardcore Coyote Peterson analysis. I know you don't have the best patience with YouTube videos, so it really means a lot to me that you just powered through like a champ. On July 13th this year, Donald Trump, the billionaire that lots of white people in America voted for in order to protect against corporate interest in politics, visited the UK. His visit was protested by over 100,000 people in London alone, and even more across the country. 2 of those protesters were myself and Natalie. Okay, now it's time to introduce a new character to the story. Also at the protest was Sargon of Akkad. It's such a pompous name. Okay, also at this protest was Carl Benjamin. Carl is a YouTube personality who used to be quite relevant, starting with Gamergate and then with the wave of anti-feminism, but basically stopped mattering after the main surge of Gamergate was over, and lots of gamers went back to their regular lives. Back when he was more well-known, Carl took part in a discussion with Richard Spencer, the neo-Nazi, in which he made Spencer look smart and well-informed by comparison, and kind of gave him a huge share of his audience. Now, that's not to say that Carl is happy with what Richard Spencer does, but you know who's happy with what Carl does? Richard Spencer, a neo-Nazi. He also once debated academic feminist Kirsty Winters and got completely hilariously demolished. When Carl takes part in well-moderated debates, he kind of just embarrasses himself. Reason being, the tactics you reach for when you take part in a bad faith argument, to win an argument socially, aren't about defending your ideas, they're about defending your identity. They're about getting validation from people like you. More recently though, Carl joined UKIP along with some other right-wing YouTubers in an attempt to radicalize their fan bases. The fact he's an active member of UKIP, honestly more than anything else, is why I was quite annoyed to see him being interviewed by the BBC at the Trump protest. Now, I was annoyed, but I could understand it. The BBC tries to do what it considers to be balanced journalism. Their approach to this is to always show an alternative to whatever it is they're showing. If they have a left-winger, they need to have a right-winger on. If they show you Coke, they have to also show you Pepsi. Now, UKIP and UKIP members officially make a lot of noise telling people they aren't inherently a racist party, but the protest was an anti-racist protest, so I'll let you make up your own mind what the BBC thought they were doing by interviewing Carl. Let's be clear. Carl isn't a politician, he isn't a political expert or some great thinker, he's an edgy shitposter. His current shtick is that he's read Starship Troopers, the book that got adapted into a movie satirizing it because its beliefs are so... Well, basically it's fanfic for space Nazis. Anyway, he's read that book and he's telling everyone that their society is perfect. I can't tell if he's sincere or if this is a complex meme strat to make everyone think he's just a bit of a fucking moron. I don't know, Carl. I can't see how that benefits you at all. Well, that was his most recent moment in the spotlight, until right now, when we're producing the video. I mean, like right now, we're editing it. Yeah. He's come on to a podcast and said that age of consent should be on a case-by-case basis. Anyway, when I saw Carl at the protest, I was pretty annoyed, but I mostly felt that it's best to just ignore him. After all, most of the stuff he does nowadays is just trying to claw back the attention he used to have. I thought it would be best to ignore him because I've seen him argue before. He argues in tremendous bad faith. I've done a bit of debating, and what bad faith arguers like Carl do is basically the polar opposite of real debate. I've also, as I said, seen him debate, and he just made a huge tit of himself. As a point of interest, in case you don't think he argues in bad faith, you should check out his stream from right after the protest, where he stood for hours defending Trump, because in the stream he says to a live question that he only supports Trump, quote, to trigger the libs. He'll use a series of leading questions, wouldn't you agree that this, or don't you think that that, in order to lead people to the conclusions that he's trying to make them draw. If you point out to him what he's leading you towards, he'll deny it. He's not in the business of discussing ideas, he's in the business of repeatedly stating a set of beliefs for the people watching on his live stream. Why am I saying all this? Well, I've watched some really good videos by Innuendo Studios titled The Alt-Right Playbook. The series goes over the strategies that the alt-centrist, classical, liberal, I can't remember which one Carl is identifying as nowadays. Strategies people like Carl use in order to stop people listening to people on the left and reaffirm their ideas to their fans. You probably know where this is going at this point, but I went to argue with Carl. Yeah, it was dumb. Honestly, the biggest part of it was a dumb sort of curiosity. I knew Carl was going to be better prepared with studies he'd misread and cherry-picked statistics to quote to back himself up. I knew exactly what he'd do to win the argument for his viewers, but a dumbass part of me thought, I know they say getting in a bad faith argument sucks a lot, but how much is a lot? I really did know exactly what he'd do, but that curiosity is a powerful itch. The bad faith strategy Carl uses most is the Mott and Bailey, also called the bait and switch. In this strategy, your bad faith arguer will take a premise that everyone agrees on, that's Carl's leading questions, and build on top of it a statement or claim, or even just implication that is total nonsense, despite appearing to be superficially connected. If the person they're talking to rejects this premise, they're totally flummoxed. For example, when I talked to him, he asked me, is there too much immigration in the UK?
Is there too much immigration in the UK?
No, immigration is a good thing.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
News around immigration, even the most progressive news, at best, plays the defensive on this issue, explaining why immigrants aren't as bad as you think, which is why my answer, immigration is a good thing, really caught him off guard. When he couldn't gain a foothold in order to ask his series of leading questions, he changed topic in a way that's almost comical. He abruptly shouted,
So, okay, well, Islam.
When he started asking his leading questions about Islam, I could see where he was trying to lead the conversation to the conclusion that Muslims shouldn't be allowed in the UK. I pointed that out, and he just denied it. At some point in there, he made the astonishing claim that 200 million Muslims are radical terrorists hell-bent on destroying the West, which, if there were 200 million people all ready to fight and die for any ideology, that war would be over already. What a weird fucking thing to say. At another point, he claimed that immigrants depress wages, which, as I have pointed out already in another video, is a talking point a couple steps up the ladder of the white genocide conspiracy theory. He generally got a lot louder and angrier talking to me than he did to other people, and I think that's probably because I let him know that I knew what his game was. I called him by his name and I talked into his GoPro, and I was generally pretty visibly disappointed when he asked his leading questions. I think he knew I knew what he was doing, and he kind of hated it. There's this bit before I started talking to him properly where he was still arguing with someone who didn't recognize him, where I let her know that he was a member of UKIP. I knew so well what he'd do that when she turned around and asked him if it was true, and he said, a proud member of UKIP, you can actually see my mouth moving in time with his words. Well, I mean, you can kind of see it. It's difficult because I'm about 6'3" and he's a bit shorter, so at that point my head was mostly out of frame.
Oh, is he? Oh, now I understand. What's that say?
You're a member of UKIP, you just...
I am, yes. Yeah, proud member of UKIP, thank you.
I'm not trying to say that I won this argument, by the way. I'm trying to explain that I had knowledge about this particular thing before I went in, and it didn't do much for me. After this shitty, embarrassing argument, I wanted to lie down on the floor and moan loudly for a while until the toxins left my body. I need to explain this better, and to do that I need to take a bit of a detour and look at the worst Coyote Peterson video ever made. Outside of his Pain Zone videos, Coyote made a video called Beard of Bees Gone Wrong. In the video, Coyote has shaven off his usual adventurous stubble, and he's going out to put on a beard of bees. He's expecting to get stung a couple of times, but he's not expecting what does happen. For some reason, the bees start stinging him over and over and over and over. They're stinging his lips and his eyelid, and his face is starting to swell up. He has to shake them off and run, and as his face distorts with the stings, he has to say through swollen lips,
Be brave! Stay wild! We'll see you on the next adventure. Ow, that's painful.
This video sucks because Coyote isn't expecting to get stung. When I say it sucks, I mean that it elicits a totally different response from me as a viewer. There's no morbid fascination, it isn't scratching that curious itch, it sucks and I hate it. If bees had tiny little bee GoPros and a YouTube channel, and they uploaded this video, they could probably title it Leftist Soy Boy Coyote Peterson Stung by Rational Bees, and all the fans of bees would fucking love it. All the Coyote Peterson fans would hate it because it would be proving how useless his bee knowledge is when he isn't expecting to get stung. And that same social pain I talked about before, the pain of being wrong, would drive them away from it. It would make them feel terrible, even though Coyote's bee knowledge wasn't really proven wrong here at all. If anything, he shows he knows how bee pheromones work, and he knows how to shake bees off, but nobody can say he won that round. This video is clearly bees 1, Coyote 0. What I'm trying to say here, really, is to learn from my experience. Don't get stung. What I mean by that is don't go on a bad faith arguer's platform and play their game. If you know some lazy shithead in real life and you want to argue them, go ahead. If you can bring them into a moderated debate with you, go ahead. I mean, when Carl debated Kirsty Winters, he got burned to the ground and she salted the earth so nothing would ever grow there again. Trying to change people's minds isn't getting stung, but playing their game is, and it sucks. So, if you see a Carl Benjamin in the wild, just admire it from a safe distance. It won't hurt you unless you aggravate it. And until next time, be brave, stay wild, and I'll see you on the next adventure. Apologies to Kirsty Winters, whose name I got wrong repeatedly in this video, like a fucking idiot. I'd like to thank Hann The Mann, who makes the music for Curio, as well as various friends and family, and a couple of my LeftTube colleagues who checked through this essay and helped me write it. Thanks most of all to you, the viewer, for watching this video all the way to the end. Especially thank you for watching all the way to the end if you're a fan of Carl's. Like, why are you here? This channel is where I argue that Bloodborne is anti-capitalist propaganda. You think I'm joking, but that's an actual essay I'm writing. Anyway, this video is a bit heavy for me, so I'm going to do something non-political next time and talk about Fargo. If you really, really like this video and want to support Curio, there is a Patreon and Ko-fi, or for regular updates you can just follow me on Twitter. I'll link to Carl's stream in the description for full context, but I don't really recommend you go watch any of his videos, they're a bit boring. You'd be better off checking out Coyote Peterson's channel, which I'll also link to, those are fucking great. Anyway, bye for now.